Shalom, Kohalo Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of the GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us this truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers that push the word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua back with the World War III Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you that have made it here. All right, so World War III is here. And that's or let me put it this way, World War III is trending. All right, that's the talk of the world, so to speak. Okay, now there's only one event that the so-called elites regard over World War III. World War III is actually a fly in the buttermilk, if you will. All right. What is it destroying? It's destroying their plans for NWO. All right. And it will be the undoing of the NWO. All right. So I'm going to point out in the Bible a couple of times where we're looking at World War III. All right. So this is 2nd Ezra 13 and 5. Okay. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men. This is World War III. Okay? Watch these words, gathered together. After this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. The man that came out of the sea is the one you ignorantly call Jesus. Okay? But what's going to happen is during World War III, they're going to stop fighting each other and then fight against the angels and the one you call Jesus Christ, the so-called. Why would all the armies of the world fight against Jesus? Here's what nobody understands. The Bible is telling you that the armies of the world are going to fight against the angels and Jesus. Why would that be? Because everything you've been told about so-called Jesus is a lie. He's not a white man that wants to save everybody. He's the original angry black man who's coming back to save his people, who are also dark-skinned people. That's why the armies of the world, okay, so-called black people don't have an army. Not the Africans, but the so-called African Americans who are Israelites, they don't have, the Mexicans don't have an army. The Spanish have armies. Okay? The English have armies. What language am I speaking? I'm speaking the language of my oppressor. Okay? English. The so-called Mexicans are speaking the language of their oppressor, the one that put them into slavery and still has them working in the fruit fields, right, to this very day. What language do they speak? They speak Spanish. Some of the 12 tribes speak Portuguese. Some of the 12 tribes speak French. Why? Why aren't they speaking Hebrew like they're supposed to? Because they're still in captivity. And it's just the truth. Okay? Somebody forced them to speak those languages. What languages are those? They're so-called European languages. So whoever those people are, who are the French? Who are the English? Who are the Spanish? Who are the Portuguese? These people are the Edomites. Okay? Now, the Edomites are going to be attacked by the angels and the one you ignorantly call Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ is not an Edomite. He's an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, right? Just like the so-called African Americans are. All right? That's why there's going to be this war. World War III, it says, after this and I beheld, there was gathered together. See these words? Gathered together a multitude of men. So they were already gathered together fighting against each other. But then they stopped fighting each other and came together to do what? Okay, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. The man that came out of the sea is the one you call Jesus. Said that man waxed strong with the thousands of, who are the thousands of heaven? The angels. Okay, right here, all the armies of the world came together to subdue the man that came out of the sea and the angels. Okay, that's one instance. Okay, now we'll come down here. I'm just going to say it again. Okay, where is it? Right here. This is World War III. 2nd Ezra 13 and 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another. Right? Now this next line goes into the angels and the one you call Jesus. And one realm. What realm? The third dimension against the fourth dimension realm. Okay? All of this, up before we get to and one realm, this is World War III. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another. All of this is man against man. One place against another, one people against another. And right here, this is where the angels come in, the celestial beings, in one realm against another, which is going to end all wars after that. Okay? It says, and when all the people, this is 33, 2nd Ezra 13:33, and when all the people hear his voice, meaning all the people that are fighting against each other in World War III, they're all going to hear his voice, which is those lasers coming out of those war chariots that you call UFOs. Every man shall in their own land, meaning their own nation, leave the battle they have one against another, World War III. They're going to stop fighting each other, right? And an innumerable multitude shall be what? Gathered together. Gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come and to overcome him, Jesus and the angels, by fighting. So all the armies of the world are going to stop fighting each other, right? They're going to leave the battle they have one against another and come to fight against Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, and the angels. Now we're going to go to Revelation, and we're going to see exactly the same thing. And my point is that World War III is ramping up, and nobody can stop it. The troops are being gathered together. Okay? This is Revelation 19 and 19. And I saw the beast, NATO in the EU, and the kings of the earth and their armies. You saw them what? Gathered together. To do what? To make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Who sat on the horse? Okay. I saw heaven open, meaning the fourth dimension opened, and behold, a UFO, behold a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true. That's the one you call Jesus. And in righteousness he doth judge. He's a judge. What else? And make war. Jump down to 14. And the armies which were with him, so lucky, the armies which were in heaven followed him upon UFOs, war chariots, white horses clothed in fine linen, white and clean. So, back down here, the kings of the earth and their armies are being gathered together in World War III. And then they're going to stop fighting each other, and then they're going to make war against Jesus and the angels. Period. And right now we're watching the gathering together. Now we'll go to Joel real quick. God says in Joel 3 and 2, I will also gather together all nations and bring them down in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Yehoshaphat, God's judgment. Okay? We read it in the NLT. I will gather. I, as the Most High God, Yahweh Bashim, God in the name of his Son Jesus Christ, will gather the armies of the world. I will gather them together. I will gather the armies of the world into the valley. This is World War III. Okay? Now, who's fighting over in Eastern Europe right now? Who's over there fighting in Eastern Europe? Let me show you. And I saw the beast. Who is the beast? NATO and the EU. And who rides the beast? Babylon the Great, America. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies. That's who's fighting against Russia over there right now. But right here it says the kings of the earth. Well, Vlad is a king of the earth. Vladimir Putin is one of the kings of the earth. Right here they got back together to do what? To fight against the angels and Jesus. So they stopped fighting each other right here. World War III came to an abrupt ceasefire because they had bigger fish to fry. All right. But what we're concentrating on right now is World War III. So we're going to go to Paul and Adrian and off-grid desert farming, this kook, right, who starts talking about Jesus loves you and say the sinner's prayer. None of that is true, but what he's saying, his reporting on World War III, is pretty accurate. So let's see what he has to say. Then we'll bring this to an end. Because what's going on is after the Ukrainian counteroffensive of last week, Putin got a bloody nose, and his people, the Russians, said, hey, what the hell is going on? You better fight this war. Stop pussyfooting around. Okay? And now it's going to be noised abroad that Russia is actually fighting against NATO, the EU, and the United States. What does that spell? World War III.
For you guys now, we're going to try to cover all this information right now for you guys. NATO should prepare for an all-out war with Russia as Putin grows desperate amid Ukraine's victory. Ex-NATO brass. NATO must prepare for an all-out war with Russia as President Vladimir Putin is expected to lash out following Ukraine's striking recapture of Russian-occupied territory that reversed close to 6 months of Russian gains, former NATO deputy commander told Fox News. Well,
Hold on. Okay, okay, it says yesterday. I need a date on this. It can't be but two or 3 days old. Anyway, let's read this and let's analyze this headline on Fox News. NATO should prepare for all-out war with Russia. It doesn't say Ukraine should prepare for all-out war with Russia. NATO, the North American Treaty Organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's a bunch of countries. And who is the EU? The European Union. That's who the beast is. Should prepare for what? World War III. Xi Jinping said the other day, hey, we're back in Russia complete. This is World War III. All you got to do is read the scriptures to understand what is going on. And not everybody will understand, but still clearly describes what we're about to see.
I didn't put it back 6 months, folks, but they did take some of the land back. Russian forces on Tuesday withdrew from areas in the Luhansk region, marking the latest victory for Ukraine as its soldiers pushes eastward, reclaiming more than 2,000 square miles of territory in what some could believe could be a critical turning point in the war. United Kingdom General Sir Richard Sheriff told the story Tuesday that while Ukraine's brilliant counteroffensive operation is a total humiliation for Putin and the Russian army, maintaining their success on the battlefield will be a harder feat with a Russian counterattack imminent. So there's Vladimir Zelensky in a picture. It says, it's brilliant. I think it has really far-reaching implications potentially, but let's be cautious. Sharif warned, they've achieved a great success, but they have to maintain their success equally. They have to be ready for the Russians to reorganize and counterattack. With the failures of the Russian armed forces evidence on the global stage, Putin is expected to order a devastating escalatory attack to reassert his strength, Sherry said, warning that the Russians' use of nuclear weaponry still isn't off the table. So we do have former military commanders now saying that Russia could launch a massive or maybe just a tactical nuclear strike.
Boom!
And devastate the whole area, folks. But we do have news coming in from every different source. So we've been talking about this for a while. We've been talking about the financial collapse. We had a collapse in the stock market of 1,300 points yesterday. Now the stock market was up about 50 points so far today, but it dropped about 1,300. And the Federal Reserve, it does look like, could be going to raise the interest rate hike, the biggest in 40 years. He said the biggest Fed rate hike in 40 years. It could be coming next week. So this is Jerome Powell. He is the head of the Fed, and he could raise the interest rates by a 1 percentage point. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and times are arguably increasingly desperate. The persistence of high inflation might force the Federal Reserve to resort to the biggest increase in key U.S. interest rates in more than 40 years. After another dismal U.S. inflation report, economists at the brokerage Numero Securities on Tuesday became the first on Wall Street, Dow Jones, to predict a full percentage point increase in the Fed's benchmark short-term rate. We continue to believe markets are underappreciate. We continue to believe that markets underappreciate just how entrenched U.S. inflation has become and the magnitude of response that will be likely required from the Fed to dislodge it. The economist at Numero wrote in a report to his clients, the last time the Fed made such a dramatic move was in the early 1980s, another period marked by sky-high inflation. At each of the last two meetings,
I don't know how he got
the largest in over 40 years.
I don't want to hear about the market.
Sherman is participating. Dynamic Mariner includes 50 surface ships, 5 submarines, 5 patrol planes and helicopters from the United States, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Poland, Romania, Spain, and...
You hear all of these nations? What is this contingent? It looks like an exercise, but the exercise, NATO kicks off naval war games near group of Russian ships. What do you think this is? Okay, these are just some of the headlines jumping off right now. Let's get out of the market there. All right, and this is the World War III Daily Update, just to keep you updated on how this thing is progressing, how it's not gonna get better. Okay, it's not gonna get better. It's gonna get progressively worse. All right, until them UFOs come in and make a quick work of all the armies that are on the face of the earth. They're all going to be destroyed because nothing can overcome the chariots of Israel. The so-called UFOs that have superior firepower, abilities, they can morph, they can change, right? They can go into the water, they can go into the air, they can go into outer space, they can go into the fourth dimension. And man just doesn't, he doesn't possess those abilities. So
NATO warships are now launching a massive drill, getting very close to a group of Russian warships. So let me get you this article. This is coming in from Zero Hedge.
Okay, does this have anything to do with Ukraine fighting the Russians? No. So don't be fooled by the banana in the tailpipe.
NATO kicks off naval war games near a group of Russian ships. The United States and 11 NATO members have started a large-scale military drill in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. Dubbed the Dynamic Mariner, the war games will put several NATO ships in a region with a major Russian military presence.
They're not having war games. They're positioning their assets for World War III. Make no mistake about it.
At a time of soaring tensions between Moscow and the West, the war games are led by NATO's Allied Maritime Command, or MARCOM, and will begin Tuesday, that was yesterday, and run through September the 22nd. It is unclear how many American soldiers are part of the 1,500 NATO sailors taking part. At least the USS Forrest Sherman is participating. Dynamic Mariner includes 50 surface ships, 5 submarines, 5 patrol planes and helicopters from the United States, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Poland, Romania, Spain, and Turkey.
So does that sound like war games to you, or does it sound like World War III? I'm going to skip up. There's a good part where he goes into what's going on. Let me see.
Heated up very quickly. Like I said, we have had an assassination attempt of the president of Russia, folks. This is very, very significant that President Vladimir Putin's motorcade was ambushed, but President Putin survived. So a lot of things are happening in the world, folks. We just need to be ready. We're having fluctuations right now on the stock market. Like I said, the stock market was down 1,300 points yesterday. It is up a little bit today. But we have that going on. We have another date, September the 24th, where something big is supposed to happen. We have September the 26th. We have Rosh Hashanah starting, I think, September the 24th, 25th, and 26th, which is the Feast of Trumpets. Then we have September the 26th, where the U.S. NASA spacecraft DART is supposed to impact a large asteroid and try to move it out of its way. So a lot of things and a lot of predictions are happening this month, folks. We got about 15 more days before the end of the month. And I do think it's going to be a wild ride to the end of September, going into October, November. So that's all the news that we have for you today. But before we go, we have 1,071 people watching. I want to give you an opportunity, folks.
That's not what.
The world's in a dangerous place, and it does look like that things could get heated up very quickly. Like I said, we have had an assassination attempt of the president of Russia, folks. This is very, very our nations and enhancing operational readiness. According to a press release from the U.S. Navy, the Dynamic Mariner will engage in cross exercises with Turkish forces to conduct surface, air, anti-submarine warfare.
All right, good enough. I've squeezed that one. Let's see. Salakia, bear with me.
That you are the Son of God. And I do believe repentance.
Okay, good enough. All right, so that's the update for today and for the week. Things are heating up, folks, and nothing can stop it. Let's get one on the way out. Let's just get the old standby. Let's see. It's the Bible saying this, not me. Why does the Bible mention World War III? Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past. World War II is already over. And behold, the third woe, World War III, cometh quickly. Believe me or you believe the Bible? Oh, the Bible is a fables. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see when them chariots show up and your ass is scared as fuck. Pardon my French. All right? So with that, we hope that the elect will edify you, brothers and sisters. With that, we can say shalom.